Clara Evans tripped over a box of party streamers and nearly knocked over a vase of fresh flowers as she rushed through her small apartment, phone pressed between ear and shoulder. As a professional party planner who specialized in children's events, she was accustomed to last-minute changes, but this particular client was testing her limits. "Yes, Mrs. Forrester, I understand completely. A unicorn-themed bouncy castle instead of the princess one." "Not a problem at all," Clara assured, frantically scribbling notes while eyeing the clock. She had exactly 48 hours to pull off what was supposed to be the most magical 7th birthday party for little Lily Forrester, and now the theme was changing for the third time. After ending the call, Clara collapsed onto her couch, surrounded by sketches, fabric swatches, and sample invitations. Her business, Happily Ever Afters, was only 2 years old but had quickly gained popularity in the Boston area. Word of mouth had brought her the Forrester account, reportedly one of the wealthiest families in Massachusetts, though she'd only dealt with Mrs. Forrester thus far. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Forrester gave me your contact. I'm Lily's uncle and apparently on decoration duty. When can we meet to discuss the party?" Yates. Clara frowned. The mysterious uncle hadn't been mentioned in any of her planning calls. She typed back, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Daily Grind Cafe, I can bring samples." The response came immediately, "Perfect, I'll be there." The following morning, Clara arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, her portfolio bulging with unicorn-themed ideas. She ordered a latte and claimed a corner table, arranging her materials just so. At precisely 10 o'clock a.m., the cafe door swung open. The man who walked in made Clara pause mid-sip. Tall with broad shoulders and dark hair slightly ruffled by the autumn wind, he scanned the cafe with attentive hazel eyes. He wore a simple gray sweater and jeans that somehow looked tailored specifically for him. When those eyes landed on Clara and her explosion of colorful papers, he smiled and approached. "You must be Clara," he said, extending his hand. "Yates Forrester, thanks for meeting on such short notice." His handshake was firm but not overpowering. Clara noticed his watch, understated but undoubtedly expensive, and the way he carried himself with quiet confidence. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Forrester. I've brought some ideas for Lily's party. Please call me Yates. And I should warn you, I know nothing about unicorns or 7-year-old birthday parties." His smile turned sheepish. "My sister-in-law insisted I help since I missed Lily's last 2 birthdays due to work." Clara relaxed a little. "Well, you've come to the right person. Let me show you what I've planned so far." For the next hour, they discussed balloon arches, glitter stations, and unicorn horn crafting activities. Clara was surprised by how engaged Yates became, asking thoughtful questions and offering suggestions that showed genuine concern for his niece's happiness. "Lily loves anything to do with stars," he mentioned as Clara showed him decoration options. "Maybe we could incorporate that somehow." "Starry unicorns, cosmic unicorn kingdom," Clara suggested, already sketching. "We could add star projections to the ceiling during the party." Yates' face lit up. "She would love that. You're good at this." "It's my job to be good at it," Clara said with a laugh, though she felt an unexpected flutter at his praise. When it was time to leave, Yates surprised her by saying, "There's a lot more to do than I realized. My schedule is fairly flexible for the next 2 days. How can I help?" Clara hesitated. Clients usually preferred to write checks rather than stuff goodie bags. "Are you sure? It can be tedious work." "I don't mind tedious," he said, rolling up his sleeves metaphorically. "Besides, I've missed too much of Lily's life already. I want to be part of making this special for her." They agreed to meet that afternoon at Clara's small office space to assemble party favors and decorations. As she watched him leave, Clara couldn't help wondering what kind of job allowed for such flexibility and why someone clearly well off would volunteer for grunt work. When Yates arrived at her office later, Clara was knee-deep in tulle and glitter. He'd changed into an even more casual t-shirt that still somehow looked expensive. "I brought reinforcements," he announced, holding up a bag from a nearby bakery. "Cookies and coffee." "You're a lifesaver," Clara said, reaching for a cookie with glitter-dusted fingers. As they worked side by side, stuffing gift bags and assembling unicorn headbands, Clara learned that Yates was Lily's paternal uncle. His brother had died in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving Lily with her mother, Catherine. Yates had been overseas for much of that time. "What takes you overseas so often?" Clara asked, curious despite herself. Yates paused before answering. "Work, I'm in shipping, international logistics." "Sounds complicated," Clara commented, not missing how he'd glossed over details. "It can be. What about you? How does someone become a professional party planner for children?" Clara smiled, threading ribbon through a unicorn tail. "I was a kindergarten teacher for 5 years. I loved it, but I always went overboard on classroom celebrations. Eventually, some parents asked if I'd plan their kids' parties on the side. When that side gig started earning more than teaching, I took the leap." "Brave move," Yates said, looking at her with newfound respect. "Or foolish. Some months are still touch and go, but you're doing what you love," he pointed out. "That's worth something." Clara glanced at him, surprised by his understanding. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away, suddenly very interested in the unicorn mane she was crafting. The next day, they met at the Forrester estate to begin setting up. Clara had been prepared for luxury but still gasped when she pulled up to the sprawling mansion. "This is where Lily lives?" she asked as Yates helped unload her car. "Catherine's family home," he explained. "They moved in after my brother passed." The indoor event space was larger than Clara's entire apartment. As they worked throughout the day, Clara noticed how different Yates seemed here, more reserved, almost formal with the household staff. When Mrs. Forrester briefly appeared, he transformed completely, speaking in clipped, business-like tones that made Clara wonder if this was the same man who'd spent hours the previous day carefully gluing stars onto unicorn horns. During a break, Clara stepped into the garden for fresh air. She found Yates already there, phone in hand, speaking urgently to someone. "The decision needs to be made by tomorrow," he was saying. "The board won't wait longer than that. Yes, I understand the implications for the Singapore office." He spotted Clara and quickly ended the call. "Sorry about that. International shipping problems?" she asked lightly. Something flickered across his face, hesitation, perhaps. "Something like that. You know, for someone who claims to know nothing about children's parties, you're surprisingly good at this," Clara said, changing the subject. "You've got hidden talents, Mr. Shipping Executive." Yates laughed, the tension dissolving. "I like working with my hands. Too much of my job is abstract numbers, strategies, conference calls. There's something satisfying about seeing tangible results." Clara understood completely. It was why she'd left teaching for party planning. The immediate joy on a child's face was the best reward. By evening, the transformation was complete. The room had become a magical unicorn kingdom with stars twinkling on the ceiling, just as they'd planned. Exhausted but satisfied, they stood in the center, admiring their work. "Lily is going to love this," Yates said softly. Clara turned to look at him, struck by the genuine emotion in his voice. "You really care about her." "She's all I have left of my brother," he admitted. "I should have been around more." Without thinking, Clara touched his arm. "You're here now, that matters." Their eyes met, and for a moment Clara felt something shift between them. Then his phone buzzed, breaking the spell. "I should get this," he said, stepping away. Clara busied herself with final adjustments, wondering why she felt disappointed. He was a client, a temporary one at that, and clearly there was more to Yates Forrester than he was letting on. The next day, the party was a whirlwind of excited 7-year-olds, unicorn cupcakes, and magical activities. Clara stayed professionally in the background, making sure everything ran smoothly, but she couldn't help watching Yates with his niece. Gone was any trace of the serious man on the phone. Instead, he was fully present, wearing a unicorn horn, participating in every game, and making Lily laugh uncontrollably. When Lily opened her gift from Yates, a telescope with stars that matched the ones on her ceiling, her squeal of delight was followed by a fierce hug that made him blink rapidly. "Uncle Yates, it's exactly what I wanted. How did you know?" "I have my sources," he said, glancing at Clara with a smile that made her heart skip. As the party wound down and parents collected sugar-high children, Clara began the cleanup process. To her surprise, Yates stayed to help rather than joining the adults for drinks in the main house. "You don't have to do this," she told him as he gathered discarded wrapping paper. "I'm paid to handle cleanup." "I want to help," he said simply. "Besides, I wanted to ask if you might have dinner with me tomorrow night." Clara froze, a deflated balloon in her hand. "Dinner? Just to thank you for everything. Lily had the time of her life." His expression was earnest, but Clara sensed there was more he wasn't saying. She should say no. Mixing business with pleasure was against her personal rules. But there was something about Yates Forrester that made her want to break those rules. "I'd like that," she said finally. His smile was worth the risk. The following evening, Yates picked Clara up in a sleek but understated car. He took her to a small, elegant restaurant overlooking the harbor, intimate without being overwhelmingly romantic. "So," Clara said after they'd ordered, "international shipping must be doing well." Yates looked at her over his wine glass. "About that. Let me guess. You're not really in shipping." "I am, actually, just not in the way I implied." He set down his glass. "I'm the CEO of Forrester Maritime Group. We operate cargo ships and ports across 6 continents. Clara blinked, processing this information. "That's slightly more significant than you made it sound." "I find people treat me differently when they know," he explained, watching her carefully. "I didn't want that to happen with you." "Is that why Mrs. Forrester, your sister-in-law, acted like you were just some relative helping out?" "Does she not know who you are?" Yates laughed. "Catherine knows exactly who I am. She just doesn't approve of me very much. She thinks I worked my brother too hard in the family business, that I prioritized the company over him." "Did you?" Clara asked boldly, his expression sobered. "Maybe." "I've asked myself that question every day since the accident." James was on his way to an emergency board meeting I had called. The pain in his voice was unmistakable. Clara reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. "That's why being part of Lily's party meant so much to you." He nodded. "After James died, I threw myself into expanding the company internationally. It was easier than facing what happened. I've missed so much of Lily's life, and Catherine has every right to resent me for it." "But you're trying to change that now," Clara pointed out. "I am. The company runs itself these days. I've realized there are more important things." His eyes met hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. As the evening progressed, their conversation flowed naturally from business to personal dreams. Clara told him about her hope to eventually expand her company to include educational components. Yates spoke about his desire to establish a foundation in his brother's name. "You know," he said as they shared dessert, "you're the first person in a long time who didn't change when they found out what I do." "Should I be more impressed?" Clara teased. "Because honestly, your unicorn making skills were already pretty impressive." His laughter was genuine and unguarded. By the time he walked her to her door, Clara knew she was in dangerous territory. This wasn't just attraction, she genuinely liked Yates Forrester. "I'd like to see you again," he said, standing closer than strictly necessary. "I don't usually date clients," she replied, though her resolve was weakening by the second. "Technically, the party's over. I'm not your client anymore," Clara smiled. "In that case, I'd like that very much." Their first kiss was gentle and brief, but it left Clara feeling more breathless than any kiss had before. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a pattern of dinner dates, weekend walks, and comfortable evenings at Clara's modest apartment, which Yates seemed to prefer to his own penthouse. He helped her with preparations for other parties, proving to be surprisingly adept with crafts and decorations. Clara found herself looking forward to his calls, his texts, the sound of his laugh, but doubts lingered. Clara had built her business from nothing, taking pride in her independence. Yates lived in a world of board meetings and international deals. How could they possibly fit into each other's lives long term? The issue came to a head one evening when Yates invited Clara to a charity gala. It was the first time he'd asked her to enter his public world. "I don't have anything to wear to something like that," she admitted, feeling suddenly insecure. "You'd look beautiful in anything," Yates said, kissing her forehead. "But if it helps, I can have some options sent to your apartment to choose from." "I can't afford designer gowns, Yates." "It would be a gift." Clara stepped back. "I don't want to be the woman who needs to be dressed up to fit into your world." Confusion crossed his face. "That's not what I meant." "Isn't it? Sooner or later, the differences in our lives are going to matter. I run a small business planning children's parties. You run ships that could probably fit my entire apartment building." "Why does that have to be a problem?" he asked, genuinely perplexed. "Because I need to know I belong in my own right, not as some kind of project." Hurt flashed in his eyes. "Is that what you think this is?" Clara sighed, regretting her words immediately. "No, I don't know. I'm scared, Yates. I'm falling for you, but I don't see how this works long term." "By taking it one day at a time," he said, taking her hands in his. "That's how any relationship works. The money, the company, those are just circumstances, not who I am. And who I am is crazy about who you are." His sincerity was impossible to doubt. Clara squeezed his hands. "Okay, one day at a time." She attended the gala in a dress she bought herself, not designer but beautiful nonetheless. Yates looked at her like she was the only person in the room, and when he introduced her to his colleagues, it was with unmistakable pride. Clara began to believe that perhaps the differences between them weren't insurmountable after all. As summer turned to fall, their relationship deepened. Yates became a regular fixture at Clara's events, often bringing Lily along. The little girl had taken to Clara immediately, especially after learning she was the mastermind behind her birthday party. "Are you going to be my aunt someday?" Lily asked one afternoon as they decorated cookies for Halloween. Clara nearly dropped her piping bag. "What makes you ask that?" "Uncle Yates looks at you the way Daddy used to look at pictures of Mommy," Lily said matter-of-factly. "And you make him laugh. He didn't laugh much before." From the mouths of babes, Clara thought, unsure how to respond. She was saved by Yates' arrival, though the question lingered in her mind. That evening, after Lily had gone home, Yates seemed unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" Clara asked as they cleaned up her kitchen. "Catherine called today," he said, his expression unreadable. "The company is expanding into Europe. She thinks I should relocate to London for at least a year to oversee the transition." Clara felt as though the floor had dropped from beneath her feet. "Oh. She's right. From a business perspective, it would be the logical move." Clara nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. "When would you go?" "That's just it," Yates said, turning to face her fully. "I've been thinking about stepping back from daily operations for a while now. Finding someone else to handle the expansion." "Because of Lily?" Clara asked. "Partly," he admitted. "And because of you?" Clara's heart raced. "Me, these past few months with you have been the happiest I've had in years. You've shown me there's more to life than board meetings and profit margins." He took her hands. "I don't want to go to London. I want to stay here with you. I can't ask you to give up your company for me. You're not asking, I'm choosing, and I wouldn't be giving it up just changing my role." His eyes searched hers. "Unless you don't want me to stay," Clara laughed despite herself. "Of course I want you to stay. I love you, Yates." The words had slipped out unplanned, but she didn't regret them, not when his face lit up like that. "I love you too," he said, pulling her close. "More than I thought possible." As their lips met, Clara marveled at how a unicorn-themed birthday party had changed her life. 6 months later, Clara's business had expanded in unexpected ways. With Yates' encouragement and some strategic advice, but deliberately no financial investment from him, she had launched educational party packages that combined celebration with learning experiences. The new venture was thriving. Yates had restructured his role at Forrester Maritime, appointing a new operational CEO while remaining chairman of the board. He spent more time with Lily, and had even begun mending fences with Catherine, who grudgingly admitted that he seemed happier than she'd ever seen him. On a crisp spring day, Yates suggested they visit the garden where Lily's birthday party had been held the previous year. Clara was surprised to find it transformed not with unicorns this time, but with thousands of twinkling lights and star projections that made the garden seem like a slice of the night sky. "What's all this?" she asked, turning in a slow circle to take it all in. "I had some help," Yates admitted with a smile. "Lily's quite the party planner herself now." As if on cue, Lily appeared from behind a tree, grinning widely in a dress covered with stars. "Do you like it, Clara?" she asked excitedly. "Uncle Yates said it had to be perfect." "It's beautiful," Clara said, still confused but delighted by the child's enthusiasm. Lily handed her a small gift box tied with ribbon. "He said to give you this." Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a star-shaped pendant. As Clara lifted it, she noticed something else in the box, a stunning diamond ring. Her breath caught as she looked up to find Yates down on one knee before her. "Clara Evans," he began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "You walked into my life when I was just Lily's uncle helping with a birthday party. You saw me the real me before you knew about the company or anything else. You've brought more joy and meaning to my life than I ever thought possible." He took the ring from the box she still held. "Will you marry me? Not because of what I have, but because of who we are together," tears blurred Clara's vision. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "yes." As he slid the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her, Lily cheered and threw handfuls of star-shaped confetti into the air. Later, surrounded by friends and family, Yates had secretly gathered for an engagement celebration. Clara couldn't stop smiling. Catherine had even made an appearance, bringing a gift and a cautious embrace. "You know," Yates murmured in Clara's ear as they watched Lily demonstrate her party planning skills to rapt adults, "for a professional party planner, you were completely surprised by your own engagement party." "I was distracted by the proposal," she replied, leaning into him. "You certainly know how to upstage a unicorn party." "I had a good teacher," he said, kissing her temple. "Though I should warn you, Lily's already planning our wedding. There might be unicorns involved." Clara laughed, her heart full. "I wouldn't have it any other way." 2 years later, Clara and Yates celebrated their first wedding anniversary in the garden where he'd proposed. Their educational party planning business, a joint venture they'd created by merging Clara's creativity with Yates' business acumen, had become renowned throughout New England. Yates still maintained his role as chairman at Forrester Maritime, but spent most of his time working alongside Clara. As they sipped champagne beneath the stars, Clara rested her head on her husband's shoulder. "Did you ever imagine that helping with Lily's birthday party would lead to all this?" "Never," Yates admitted. "But I'm grateful every day that my sister-in-law volunteered me for decoration duty." "So am I," Clara said, thinking of the nursery they'd just finished preparing at home. In 3 months, their family would grow by one, a little boy already named James, after the uncle he would never meet, but whose legacy lived on in the foundation Yates and Clara had established to support bereaved children. "You know what I love most about our story?" Yates asked, his hand finding hers. "What's that?" "That it started with glitter and unicorns but turned out to have real magic." Clara couldn't argue with that. The magic was there every morning when she woke beside him, every time Lily called her Aunt Clara. Every day they built their life together. Not because he was a CEO or because she could plan the perfect party, but because when they had met, they'd seen past all of that to the person underneath. And that, Clara thought as she kissed her husband beneath the same stars that had witnessed their beginning, was the greatest magic of all.